I was at the White House today and had the opportunity to ask DNI, so Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, a question. It's been a long day. I started with breaking points at like 7:30 a.m. And then went straight to the White House, and then from the White House went straight here to prep. But it was good to be in the new media seat today. I'll actually be back there tomorrow as well as part of the pool for new media. So we all were waiting for the briefing today, and it was going late. They were reading the Kohberger verdict, which obviously Megan and the whole MK True Crime team covered great today. I was watching that. I'm excited to catch up with some of the coverage, but waiting for the briefing to start, it ends up starting pretty late, and Tulsi Gabbard comes out and lays out a case from a newly declassified House Intelligence Committee report that was prepared mostly on the grounds of the CIA. Matt Taibbi has pointed this out about the 2016 election back in 2017, 2018. And Director Gabbard spends a good chunk of time going through this declassified report in detail, contextualizing it with the declassified documents or the newly disclosed document dump from last week. And then also, of course, CIA Director John Ratcliffe's report from a couple weeks ago as well. Basically, there has been this wave of information that we've gotten just in the last month that paints a clearer picture of what really happened in 2016. Now, I want to make something very clear. I 100% believe the administration is milking these disclosures to distract from the Epstein scandal. And that, though, doesn't mean two things can't be true at the same time. Both of these things can be important, and both of these things can be significant. And the administration can be doing what politicians do and what government officials do, and trying to suck all of the oxygen away from a damaging story by trying to change the narrative. And Donald Trump basically said as much in the Oval Office earlier this week. So that was actually just yesterday when Trump basically said, stop paying attention to this Epstein witch hunt. The real witch hunt you should be paying attention to is over here, and it involves my predecessors, it involves Comey, it involves Brennan. And I think, from the outside, my perspective on that is both of these scandals are scandalous. Both of these scandals are important and significant, and I'm really glad that this report was declassified by Director Gabbard, because it does indeed paint quite an interesting picture. So I'm just going to start. This is when you're in the new media seat, you get the first question. So you come in, you prep a bunch of questions. It's nice to be the first person to ask a question, because it means you usually get the big question, the most important question, and you usually don't have to go down to your 20th question because you're the first person to ask a question. But I scrapped my questions. I had every intention of asking a couple tough Epstein questions, what I thought were tough Epstein questions. And then when Director Gabbard came out, there was really no choice but to react to what she was saying, which was, let's go ahead and roll S1 here.
We'll start with our new media seat as always. Emily, go ahead.
Thank you. And Director Gabbard, this one is for you. Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Okay, so the details of this report, and then to sort of zoom back and have the context of other declassified information, you have to zoom out, view this in the context of the Durham report, which many people remember, also the Mueller report, and all of this information that has come out on a steady drip since the pieces of the puzzle started to be put together by people like the great Molly Hemingway, like our friend here, Matt Taibbi. You really can't just look at any of this in a vacuum. But the report itself is quite significant. So let me just take a look so I can show you, because there's a lot of downplaying going on. But this is the House Majority's report that says a couple of things. It says, on the one hand, finding number 2 is that the bulk of ICA judgments, so intelligence community assessment judgments, on Russia's election operations were sound and employed proper analytic tradecraft. Okay, well, when we go over here, we see finding number 2, significant tradecraft failings cast doubt on ICA judgments of Putin's intentions. And this is where what was released today is very, very important, because what is released today shows that there was this process, and we knew some of this, but we didn't see some of the granular details. And I can go here to Matt Taibbi, who, towards the bottom of his report on this, for the record, I am a Racket subscriber. I just don't usually use Chrome, and I use my Chrome browser to put things up on here. So don't worry, I pay for my news. But Matt goes down and shows the intelligence that the report found was used specifically to cook up this idea that Vladimir Putin specifically was trying to help Donald Trump, which is obviously worth distinguishing, because that was one of the important claims. So as I was listening to Director Gabbard, that jumped out as, of course, the obvious question. They had a graphic with Barack Obama at the center of it, and like literal tentacles branching out from that picture, trying to illustrate what they see as a broad conspiracy. And it is a conspiracy. The more we're learning about it, it is a conspiracy. And that's where, just to go back quickly to this tab, the Obama question is really interesting, because here Obama put out a statement that said yesterday, through a spokesperson, that said nothing in the document issued last week, referring to what Gabbard released on Friday, undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intel Committee led by then Chairman Marco Rubio. So that's arguing past the point. And I'll talk to Tom about this in just a second, because I'm curious to get his thoughts. But that's actually not even what Gabbard is saying. Gabbard isn't disputing what Barack Obama said right there. What she is accusing him of is basically being involved in an effort to cook up intelligence that was not substantiated, to, as she put it, undermine the will of the American electorate. And what that would look like criminally, I mean, there was a Supreme Court decision about immunity that we know very well regarding Donald Trump, presidential immunity regarding Donald Trump, not that long ago. So we're all familiar with that. That's, what does it mean for Barack Obama? Does it mean Donald Trump actually is going to pursue charges, or he'll have his administration pursue charges against Barack Obama? What is the legal standing? That is a question that the administration, what you heard from Gabbard is that she's referring this over to the Attorney General, to the Department of Justice, and they will now face more and more questions. But what we do at least know is that based on these answers, based on Gabbard's answer to me, here's how the Federalist put it in a headline. They said, Gabbard, we've asked DOJ to investigate, quote, criminal implications of Obama's role in Russia hoax. We know, based on what Tulsi Gabbard said at the briefing today, when I asked her, that they are willing to say that. And that is significant. I mean, we sort of are numb to the history that we live through now, because everything happens so fast, and precedents are being shattered left and right, literally and figuratively. And that is significant. You have the administration. I mean, Trump was posturing in this direction. He's been fingering Obama for the last several days, and Comey and Brennan and all of that. We know they opened a criminal investigation into Comey and Brennan. But it's, of course, significant when you have the presidential administration, you have the director of national intelligence suggesting that they have referred the former president of the United States, a member of the other party, to the Department of Justice for further investigation into potential criminal charges. So significant stuff, interesting stuff. It was a really, really wild day to be there.